I pressed the button. I pressed the button. I pressed the button.
Thought we had already gone live 17 seconds earlier.
Now we're just waiting for something to happen. Can someone check my X account and see if the video's live? I want
You
them to
stream it on X?
I'm streaming it on X.
You are?
Yeah. I'm doing it right now.
This is the first time?
So don't do anything embarrassing, Lewis. Oh, Lewis, come on.
Just the first time.
Wait a second. What's going on? Okay. Got it. I think we're live. Yeah, I figure why not? Let's just go for it. You know? Pulling a LK.
All right.
We're throwing caution.
What could go wrong?
Into that wind, Lewis. I got the bandwidth. I got the horsepower. I got the Colt Commander. The finest PC ever built. By these very hands right here, Lewis.
The finest PC is like saying, yeah, I've got the best Toyota Celica.
Yeah, well, at least when I start the stream, my Colt Commander doesn't sound like an Apache trying to take off. Like my Mac used to. Boom! I'm liking these Seinfeld opening booms. What do you think about those, guys?
It's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, I figure maybe
that's the new character who should open the show, Seinfeld.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, I like that idea, but I hear he's litigious, and he's definitely got the budget to outpower my high-powered legal team. We got Dave W. here. Who knows if he's even still here because he's been here for 20 minutes. We've got Betty Reyes. We got Adam Broussard. Guess what he wants, Lewis? He wants a very enthusiastic. Yeah. Now look,
shocking.
That's not an endorsement. I don't want to hear nothing about it, Lewis. We also got
another one. He's gonna have to pay for it.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's paid for any of them. Although Hugo Last is in here just throwing out bills left and right. Oh my goodness, a crisp 50. Mike Albuquerque says watching from my Vision Pro. Oh yeah. Are we in stereoscopic? How's that? How do you like that? Oh man. We'll read that. We're going to read that very generous super chat when we start the show. And I'm going to pretend like I didn't see it until right when we started it. We got Captain Dr. Zach Hicks is here with his steel-toed boots on, size 12, so get your keisters ready. Dave W. says he's still here. Biff La Tourette, hello from St. Louis. Whew. Stay safe out there, Biff. I think we're ready to go. Although what we don't have, Lewis, is... Lewis, you're slowing down.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting. That's what I'm doing. Waiting patiently for the tweet.
Okay, here it is. It's coming in hot. Hope your hands are ready. Get them ready. Put them out like this, Lewis.
Please, oh please.
Okay, there you go. Fantastic.
There we go.
Go. You know, I really don't know if we should do an episode on... What I should do is an episode on my YouTube channel about Dr. Disrespect and have that be my comeback video. That whole situation has just got to be so strange. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you guys have been following what's been going on with Dr. Disrespect, but it definitely has been an interesting saga. It's like Movie Pass, man. It just keeps meandering and turning left and right and going all sorts of places you didn't expect. But
I would say I only have a tenuous understanding of who he was. So.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
Can't say I'm keeping up.
I was a big fan. I am a big fan. I met him in person. I don't believe it. I don't believe it, Adam Broussard. I don't believe it. I think the doc is innocent. Although
I'm catching some heat somewhere. I was at Twitter or comments or something. People are like, "Wow, I can't believe you defend him." I didn't read all the details.
Someone was saying they can't believe I defended him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I missed that. Well, look, man. I'm a loyal person. And what is loyalty if you're gonna churn tail and run the moment you have some heat, man? Loyal to the end. Maybe not to the very end.
I didn't pay any super close attention to what I just saw a headline.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. That's what people are reacting to, the headlines. And I guess my position is you just don't really know what happened. You know, you just don't know. We could, I mean, to give another parallel, let's talk about Michael Jackson for just a brief second.
Oh, dear.
Look, I'm not going to say anything that would get us booted off this platform. I just don't know what to believe. I really don't know what to believe. I hear arguments on both sides that are so convincing. Like, he did all these terrible things, and you're like, oh man, like some really heinous stuff. And then you hear the other side, and they're like, yeah, all those things are just accusations. None of them were ever proved. You know, the people had motivations for wanting to come after him. I'm talking about Michael Jackson, by the way. And it's like, oh, that's actually a good point. Like, people make all sorts of crazy accusations. So I just don't know what to believe. It's so hard to know when there's no court case, there's no evidence that I've seen that is like absolute, you know, it's just hard to know. And do you completely abandon someone just because they were accused of something? Like, there's a reason that we have a legal system that works in such a specific way, in that you have to prove things, because it's easy to toss out accusations, and people do it. So you just don't know. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Captain Dr. Zach Hicks in the chat. Holy moly. We'll have to read that in the chat. That is quite an announcement that you're making here live on the stream here, Captain Dr. Zach Hicks. All right. Should we go ahead and get going? I feel like I'm just sitting here doing a monologue.
About a completely off-topic topic.
I actually am curious, though. Let's see. Am I live on? Okay, it says that I'm streaming on X, but I don't see any evidence of that. I don't see a video.
Yeah, what's going on that site over there? Who's in charge?
I should have done this on Mastodon.
I just got
there'd only be 2 people watching, but at least it'd be working.
Yeah, I got a
there's
tweet
nothing
saying that the podcast is live, but okay, well, this is fascinating.
Yeah, but there's no video. I mean, there's supposed to be like a.
Yeah, I should get a little alert saying.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the stream.
Is that from you or from Cult of Mac?
No, it's from me. Well, Zach, you can see the post, but there's supposed to be a live stream of the video going straight to my Twitter feed. So I don't know why it's not working. It's supposed to be working, but clearly I'll have to look into this later because I'm not going to solve it here. So I'm going to stop the stream, not on YouTube, but on X, and then we'll get this thing moving. Let's see here. Stop that because clearly it's not working. But I don't know. I heard some people, or I had some people rather, that were saying they actually wanted to watch the video on X. Like, they wanted us to start uploading or streaming there. So I'm like, well, it's not that much extra work, so maybe we should try it out. But we'll have to do that later. Okay, should we get this thing rolling?
What a great idea.
I feel like I'm missing something really obvious, and we're going to get started, and I'm going to be like, oh, wait, we can't actually do the show right now, but I guess we'll just have to do it live, Lewis.
Is it the jokes? Do you have the intro jokes?
Yeah, of course. Those live
you
here.
never know what could be the thing that's missing.
Actually,
Let's
sometimes.
get going,
Actually, sometimes
can't think of anything else.
Sometimes they are missing. So that's not an outrageous guess. Okay, let's cue up Mrs. You Know Who. Oh, Mrs. D. Oh, Mrs. D. Oh, Mrs. D, did you hear about any of the ongoings with Michael Jackson? Oh, I sure did, my dear. Very heinous, very heinous. Yeah, I bet they were quite heinous. I mean, things that you have definitely never, Oh, I better be in that line of joke. Actually, I was thinking about where that was going. I was like, this is not going to go anywhere good. Yeah, Mrs. D, they were heinous. Oh, my dear, I like to do some heinous stuff with El Caney. Oh, of course. That's way better, Lewis. I mean, that was probably a far better avenue to go down. Or it could have gone, to be honest with you. Mrs. D, speaking of heinous, none of us want to hear about your adventures with El Caney, and you almost just got us booted off of YouTube. So if you don't mind, let's just keep it on track here. Let's keep it on topic, and we'll get this thing rolling because we have a lot of stories here to do, and we'll get this thing rolling as soon as I can get the music turned on in 3, 2. Hello, and welcome to the CultCast, the best 30 plus spin out the conversation you're going to hear. All week long, I'm your host, Eric Lad, joining me today. He honed his writer management skills in the corridors of Chino State Penitentiary. where he served some hard time, but got to produce the prison newsletter and motivated the writing team with single cigarettes and threats of violence. He's the managing editor of Cult Mac. Lewis Wells is here.
Okay. Yeah.
Also with us, I gotta move on, Lewis. You took too long. Also with us tomorrow, he'll be celebrating the 4th of July, the way he does every year by dusting off and wearing the stars and stripes thong underwear that he keeps hidden in his room. Look, it's a strange way to celebrate, but I'm not a judgy person. He's a writer for Cult Mac. Griffin Jones is here.
Good evening. How are you celebrating the 4th of July, Airphone?
Well, I have a Speedo that I like to wear, and then an American flag, and I have my wife use a high-powered fan to blow air at me, and I just sit there holding it up and yelling freedom and shaking my hair like this, so it just kind of blows around. That's what I like to do.
For what audience exactly?
Oh, well, it's just for my wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the neighbor, and anyone who's near my house, the neighbors as well, and people just driving by on my street. I mean, basically anyone that's within a 1 or 2 block radius from my house. It's this thing that I do, and the kids think it's funny, and they try to shoot me with Roman candles, you know.
Nice to connect to the neighborhood in that way.
Absolutely. It's celebrating our patriotism, which I don't think that you can overdo. And happy 4th of July to everyone in the U.S. If you're listening to this, it might even be on 4th of July, one of my favorite holidays of the entire year, and kind of the kickoff to the summer here in Seattle, because you're not really guaranteed any nice weather until maybe early to mid-July here in Seattle. It doesn't start in June, I'll tell you that much. And then mid-August, it just kind of ends abruptly, and you're back into winter, into the terrible, awful winter for the next 9 months. So I hope you all are celebrating and enjoying time with your family and friends, and hopefully you get to see some fireworks. That's the thing about having kids that you don't think about, is you're pretty much done with doing anything that involves darkness, you know? Being anything that happening at night, you just can't do it. Fireworks, going out, going to dinners. Like, once you have the kids, like, that stuff just all ends, and because they have to go to bed at 6:30, 7:30. And so my wife was asking me if we wanted to go do anything for 4th of July, and I was like, what? What are we going to go do? We got to stay here. The fireworks don't even start till 10. And so we basically can't go anywhere. And they do this really cool thing down near where I live. They have I forget the administration. It's like the National Ocean Administration something. NOAA, the National Oceanic.
There's 2 A's. I don't remember what the other one is.
Yeah, there's 2 A's. And there's it's the first A that I don't remember what it is. Oh, the National Oceanic Atmosphere Administration. Association.
Atmospheric.
Right.
Atmospheric
Administration. I think that might be what it is. Anyway, they have a base that's nearby, and it's in this park, this really popular park down near where I live. And right as the fireworks are starting to go off, they launch a oh man, what are the name of those helicopters? The one with the double blades, a Chinook. Isn't that what those things are called? The things with the 2 propellers that are at the front and the back, and that thing flies up in the air, and your eyes well up with tears at the might of the American military, and then it just drops like this 50-foot flag and just flies around the whole lake, and just does that, carrying the flag, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administrators, Betty Reyes from the chat says. I don't know. But I saw the Chinook practicing yesterday, and I was like, uh-oh, are we under attack? Then I remembered, no, that's just what they do for 4th of July. Anyway, I have completely lost my place. Oh, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We've got some wacky new features potentially coming to AirPods. This is coming from a reliable source. We'll tell you what we know. We have some more sad disappointments for, I keep calling it the cheaper Vision Pro. Griffin is now changing my words in the notes to the Vision Air. So I guess that's what we're calling it now, the Vision Air. I love how when we're putting together these show notes, I'll be typing something, and as I'm typing it, Griffin's just going behind me, changing things on the fly. So we're calling it the Vision Air now.
First editing pass, you know?
Yeah, right. No, I appreciate that. And we've got some interesting news when it comes to OpenAI and Apple's involvement in that company. We have a really exciting tip on how to enable the iPad Magic Keyboard hidden backlight. Griffin was insistent that we include this one. He thinks it's going to be a winner. We'll see. I'm not convinced, but we'll see. This is morbid. Lewis is going to tell us that Apple Watch can now detect the leading cause of heart attacks. Doctors say, I don't know about that,
It's the
Lewis.
opposite of morbid.
Yeah, is it? I guess
Yeah.
this keeps you alive. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll allow it. And then we're going to do... Where did all these stories come from? We don't have time for all this. The 8 weirdest unreleased Apple products. Griffin is going to do a quick under review for a product that he's looking at. And then I'm going to give a quick plug for a product that I've been testing. It's not a new product, but it is new to me. And boy, oh boy, is it... I'm trying to think of the right way to describe it. It is a huge advancement in the way that I play video games. And I thought it was going to be something minor, and then I tried it, and I was like, whoa, major difference. So we'll wrap up with that. Before we dive in, let's hope and pray that I have this website pulled up. Is it working? Ah! Goodness. I want to thank Squarespace for supporting this episode. You've heard me talk about them probably maybe 200-300 times because they've been sponsoring our show for so long, which we, of course, deeply appreciate. They help make what we do possible. Squarespace, the place that you should go if you have been slacking. Mr. Strickland called you a slacker, and maybe you still are, but you're ready to change your ways and make something out of yourself. Build a business, make money online. There's so many ways to make money online. I mean, I just have it rolling in, and I barely have to do anything. That could be you. That could be you that does that, but you do need a Squarespace website to get started. And they make it so easy. They have this feature called Squarespace Blueprint, and they have AI and SEO tools. You can start a completely personalized website with the new guided system they call Squarespace Blueprint. Choose from professionally curated layouts and styling options to build a unique online presence. From the ground up, tailored to your brand or business and optimized for every device that visits. Easily launch your website and get discovered fast with their integrated optimized SEO tools. So you show up more often, which means more dollars in your pocket. I hope your pockets are big enough. You're going to need to switch to Kirkland jeans, I think. That's what I've done to hold all the money that I have coming in. Also, flexible payments. Make checkout seamless for your customers with simple but powerful payment tools. Apply or accept credit cards, PayPal, and Apple Pay. Apple Pay, obviously a big one for us. And in eligible countries, offer customers the option to buy now and pay later. You can sell exclusive content of all kinds, memberships, courses, digital files, physical items like the CultCloth, PDFs, music, ebooks, you name it. Head to squarespace.com/CultCast for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain with code CultCast at checkout. Squarespace.com/CultCast, and don't forget to use the offer code CultCast at checkout to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Oh my goodness, hold on a second. Hold on 1 second. Before we look at this money that's pouring in here. Well, first of all, we got a $50 super chat from Hugo Last. This guy's giving us and by us I mean Leander, like $200 a month at this point. And we need to get this guy on the show. He says, you guys thought you could stop me from giving you money by doing the show on a Wednesday. That is true. We were hoping to avoid your money. I was like, let's do it on a Wednesday. Maybe Hugo won't know. But he says, I outsmarted you guys. Here is the money. Now, you guys look foolish and me smart. He outplayed us again, Lewis. I told you this wasn't going to work. I told you it wasn't going to work. Hugo Last, thank you for that super chat. Also, I do want to also mention Captain Dr. Zach Hicks, who's in the chat. Member of the military, I salute you, Captain Doctor. And he says, the military is moving me to Tokyo next week. So this will be my last live watch for a few weeks. Oh my goodness, that is sad, but also exciting, man. Hey, you know what, Captain Dr. Zach Hicks? I have been trying to get a small group of friends, and maybe we could do this, to go to Tokyo to do Disney Sea, where the last Splash Mountain on Earth exists. And I hear that it might even be the best Disneyland on Earth. Now, unfortunately, my enthusiasm was a little bit diminished when I did a well, I watched some YouTube videos of some of the rides, and I heard that all the rides were in Japanese, and I was like, it would have been perfect. I thought they did them in English and Japanese, but apparently it's only Japanese, which that does make sense. But they have English on the signage and everything else all throughout the park. Anyway, if we ever make that happen, you're coming with. I don't know how long you're going to be there, but I would love to have you participate in that activity. Thank you for the money. Also, for those of you who are listening, you may not have joined live. Captain Dr. Zix. I should have actually called you that. That is a lot easier to say. Captain Dr. Hicks has been our most ruthless moderator here in the chat. He wears steel-toed size 12 boots, and he is not shy about inserting said boot into the keisters of any who misbehave on the stream, which is why I think our streams always go off without a hitch. No one misbehaves ever because they don't want a size 12 inserted into their keister. So happy trails to you, Zach. I hope that it's a good move for you, and I'm actually kind of envious. I would love to go to Tokyo for a while and get to just hang out. I don't know how long you're going for, but I wouldn't want to go forever, but for like 6 months to a year, that actually sounds like a cool deployment. Okay, sorry. I feel like there's so much preamble. I'm just sitting here talking, and we haven't even done the show yet. Should we go ahead and dive right in? Oh, of course, and it's me. Classic move. Back to me, but this time about some Apple hardware that you may be interested in. So the story, future AirPods could use IR cameras for in-ear gesture control. IR cameras in your ears. What will the geniuses at Apple think of next? That's directly from a commercial. Did anyone get that reference? Maybe not. Let's see here. Apple could equip a future AirPods variant with camera modules. The earbuds may incorporate an IR camera like the one Apple uses for iPhone's Face ID. Wait a second. They haven't even put this in the MacBook Pro. We're going to get this in the AirPods? I don't know. I mean, but this is Ming-Chi Kuo. This could help the AirPods Pro to better integrate with the Vision Pro and improve spatial computing, or the spatial computing experience. In a Medium post, TF International analyst Ming-Chi Kuo says Apple will mass-produce AirPods with IR camera modules in 2026. Dude, I kind of feel like Ming-Chi Kuo has been getting kind of zany in some of his predictions, and some of them haven't panned out recently. And now I just feel like he's trying to troll us. Like, this almost feels like an April 1st Medium post. I wonder if he got his months wrong and posted this on July 1st instead. Kuo says when a user is watching a video with the Vision Pro and wearing the new AirPods, if users turn their head to look in a specific direction, the sound source in that direction can be emphasized to enhance the spatial audio computing experience. Interestingly, the Vision Pro already does this, so what exactly Kuo means when he says this is unclear. Okay, cool. The AirPods could use the IR camera for in-ear gesture control by detecting changes in the environment. This would have benefits for all products like the iPhone that don't have any means of tracking hand gestures. Over the years, we had heard rumors that Apple is working on AirPods with health sensors. I believe that more. They could pack a temperature sensor to monitor your body temperature. While Kuo did not mention it, Apple might use the IR camera to track temperature changes. What do you think, Lewis? Is this happening? Are we getting cameras in the ear holes? Ear cams?
I mean, this is the first time we've heard of this, right? I mean, it is not the first time we've heard of it. Gesture controls, I mean, I guess maybe that's okay. Maybe like if you can go like this and turn the volume up or down, maybe that's great. I mean, it seems hard to believe they could fit a little camera in those tiny little earbuds. I mean, wouldn't you rather take like an extra hour or two of battery life?
Yeah, I could think of so many things I'd rather take than a camera in my ear. And it's also going to make for some awkward FaceTime call experiences when you accidentally activate the camera inside your ear and everyone has to see that you haven't been using Q-tips as often as you should, unlike me, who uses them at least 2 or 3 times a week, Lewis.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Thanks for the
sparkling
ear
clean
hygiene update.
I think it's important that people pay attention to their ear hygiene. You know, like when you stand next to someone and you all of a sudden you catch a glimpse of the inside of their ear and you just see all that wax in there and you're like, ugh.
Who do you hang out with?
Swine. Clean your ears.
I
Anyway,
can't believe you use Q-tips and not a CultCloth. Just wad it up and swirl it in.
I haven't ever thought to try that, but they're so thick and luxurious. I feel like that would be hard to actually get into your ear hole
Might be
because
harder to get out. What if it just latched on and you couldn't get it out?
that was it. It just got stuck in there, which we do not recommend. So if you try that at your own risk. Although you would have the
Off-label.
cleanest ear canals in your zip code. I know that much for sure. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that this is a wacky one. Putting a camera. They haven't even added a FaceTime camera to the MacBook Pro. And I remember that Gurman was saying one of the reasons they haven't done that is because they can't fit it into the lid of the MacBook Pro, and yet they're going to fit it into the AirPods.
Well, it's because the MacBook Pro lid is so thin. It's like a fraction of the thickness of, the iPad Pro or the iPhone or any of the other devices with Face ID. Like the MacBook Pro lid is like, 2 millimeters thick, and the Face ID thing, if you look at iFixit's teardown, it's almost the entire thickness of the iPhone that it is.
Oh, really? It
So,
takes up the entire. Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that. So yeah, how are they going to fit something that thick into an AirPod, which is already so small and packed full of technology? I just think that this prediction is totally, kind of absurd, to be honest with
I
you.
think the one that fits in the AirPod wouldn't have to be as precise as the Face ID sensor. Like the Face ID sensor has to get like a detailed 3D map of your face, whereas it sounds like this wouldn't need to be as advanced of a sensor. So it could probably get away with making it smaller. But it still raises the question, like, what if you have long hair, and it covers up your ears? Then it wouldn't work. Like the gesture control on the Vision Pro works pretty well, but still sometimes I catch myself like holding my hand out like behind my head and I'm like, why won't it tap? And it's like, oh, right, it has to look at my hand for it to work. And that would just introduce a lot of variables, like sticking it in earbuds. Like, there are some people who just like put the earbuds in their ears upside down, Yeah. Yeah, you ever see videos of people doing that? Like, I think Rudy Giuliani was like,
Oh,
on, like,
dude,
a Zoom call or something,
I
his AirPods are like pointing straight up like Shrek,
I love
Some
that
people just can't
picture.
be helped, I guess.
I love
So-
that picture. Yeah, Lewis, go for it.
And this thing's talking about it, using it to help with the spatial audio, which, they already do with, head motion sensors, right? I mean, is that
And the
not
Vision
enough?
Pro already has that. So I don't know what quo means when he says that in the article.
Well, so do AirPods, right? I mean, AirPods
Yeah.
Pro have those motion sensors. So I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Very odd rumor. Seems like a very limited kind of a use case for things that you might need, but
Yeah, there's many other features I could think of that I think Apple would probably pursue before this, but who knows? We'll wait and see what happens. I mean, he has a pretty accurate record, but this is definitely one of the wackier ones that I've seen from him, and I don't really know. I mean, look, I hate to sound like such a pessimist. I just don't really know why people would want this. So, and to have such a specific use case that you could do gestures but maybe there's something that Apple is planning, 5 years from now, and this is a feature that they need to get to that point. So that could be it. Speaking of Vision Pro, I guess not Vision Pro, the Vision not Pro, the Vision Air. We have some more interesting, I don't know what to call these leaks, but information about how Apple might be achieving the cost savings that they're going after with the Vision Air to make it cheaper. And I don't know, Griffin. I don't know how I feel about this or about any of this stuff.
Yeah. So, one of the stories that we have here is that Apple will reportedly bring Apple Intelligence to the Vision Pro. The AI features will not arrive alongside iOS 18, iPad OS 18, and macOS Sequoia, but will eventually come to the Apple headset. Mark Gurman says Apple is, quote, actively working on bringing Apple Intelligence to the Vision Pro, which uses an M2 and 16 gigs of memory, so it meets Apple's minimum specs for it. But Mark says that, quote, the bigger challenge will be getting the user interface design team to make it all look right in the mixed reality environment. Apple might wait until the release of Vision OS 3 next year to bring Apple Intelligence to the headset. Like, some people were speculating whether Apple Intelligence could run on the Vision Pro, because although it has an M2 inside, the Vision Pro already makes heavy use of its neural engine. Like, the neural engine on your iPhone isn't doing very much in most interactions. It's there when you're taking pictures and stuff like that, but it's mostly sitting idle. Whereas on the Vision Pro, it's constantly using that neural engine to track your hands and occlude them and clip them out when you hold your hand in front of a window, stuff like that. Like the neural engine is much more active on the Vision Pro. Some people are wondering whether they would have the bandwidth left over to run Apple Intelligence. And as we saw, like Vision OS 2 is kind of a smaller update. And we also saw that like Apple is like so in the swing of rushing Apple Intelligence out the door that, it's really only coming to iOS, iPadOS, which are basically the same, and macOS. It's not, there's still no word on anything else. So yeah, we'll just have to wait a little longer for that, which I'm glad, because I'd be kind of irritated if my $4,000 headset wouldn't be able to run their headlining new feature when it costs like twice as much as my Mac and my iPhone. Anyways, more news on the cheaper Vision Pro for the many orders of magnitude of people in our audience who can afford to drop such money on that type of device. The rumored cheaper version of the headset will apparently include a bigger, lower resolution display in order to get its lower price. The Vision Pro that's currently for sale uses Sony's OLED OS panels, featuring a 1.42-inch screen with a pixel density of nearly 3,400 ppi, while employing a white OLED display with color filter technology. It's very sophisticated. It's got to be the most expensive component inside the headset. A Korean website has apparently detected a shift in Apple's supply chain management for OLED on silicon panels. So that's what that acronym stands for. A key component in the headset. Currently, Sony provides these high-resolution microdisplays, but its limited production capacity of only 900,000 panels per year and lack of expansion plans have prompted Apple to seek out alternatives. Apple has apparently issued a request for information to Samsung Display and LG Display to evaluate their capabilities in producing larger panels ranging from 2.0 to 2.1 inches with a display density of around 1,700 pixels per inch. So that's much lower density. It'll probably be much more affordable for them to manufacture, and that could be a big reason why it's rumored to come in at $1,500 instead of $3,500. This is sort of like an ongoing story. Like it's kind of weird that a product so far in advance has had, top stories that we've talked about on the show 3 weeks in a row. But it's given me time to think about these rumors. And I think last week we were wondering, well, if Apple can release a cheaper version of this headset with largely the same specs and the capabilities of the existing expensive version, what's going to happen to the Vision Pro after the Vision Air? And I think I have a new theory.
Okay. Now,
my thought is that it's going to follow the HomePod sequence. They come out with the HomePod. It's expensive. Nobody aside from Airphone buys it. Then they come out with the HomePod Mini, and then they temporarily take the full-size HomePod off the market. And then later, they come out with the HomePod 2. And I think that's what they're going to do with the Vision Pro. Like by the time of like late next year, they'll come out with a cheaper version of the headset. It'll probably have the same specs because by late next year, the M2 is going to be an ancient chipset, relatively speaking. So like there will be no reason for the full-size Vision Pro to exist anymore if the cheaper version can offer the same experience for a lower price. I bet they'll probably just like let their supply of the Vision Pro run out after the Vision Air, and then another year after that, they'll come out with the upgraded Vision Pro 2 that'll actually supersede the Vision Air in specs. What do you two think?
I think that's an interesting theory. And I mean, the Vision Pro, I think, is having the same problem as the HomePod in that I just don't think it's selling very well. Although I think that Apple expected the Vision Pro to not sell very well, and they did not expect that with the HomePod, or maybe they did. But we have heard that Apple released the Vision Pro knowing that they weren't going to get a ton of orders, and I think that for the HomePod, they maybe weren't expecting the same thing. They thought it was going to be a popular item, and so that's why they had to take a break and take it off the market and then re-release it later once they figured out how to make the components cheaper and that type of thing. But I was just thinking, if you make a Vision Air and you make it lower resolution and it's tethered, I don't know how much you'd have to shave off the price and you got rid of ghost eyes, obviously. I don't know how much you'd have to shave off the price in order for that to be a compelling thing for people. Like for me, if you're going to do that, the Vision Air has to be, the Vision Air, I think $800. Like you got to bring it way, way, way down because $1,500, you're losing the premium visual experience. You're cutting the PPI in half, so the visual quality is going to be very much diminished. It's tethered now to a battery pack and to your phone or maybe to your Mac, so now you can't move around freely. It's probably going to be your phone, would be my guess, but also attached to a battery pack, which is kind of awkward. Or unless they move the battery onto like the back of the headband or something, which I think that they might want to do anyway, just to kind of give the Vision Pro or Air or whatever they call it some balance. But those are some pretty big changes to a product that I would say from a visual perspective is already it's not a truly outstanding experience. It's good, but for me, when I was wearing it, I wasn't as impressed with the visual quality as I was hoping I was going to be. Like it looked good, but it didn't look as good as my TV does in my living room. And for the price, it should look better, or at least as good, especially because the screens are so much smaller. So I think that they would probably have to bring the price way down, and I don't even know what a normal person would spend. What would the price have to be to make Vision Air ubiquitous and successful? I don't know what that price is, but I think it's $800 or less. Like for normal people to start wearing these things all over the place. I don't know. What do you think, Lewis?
I don't think anyone's going to be wearing these things all over the place ever, to be quite honest. But yeah, I mean, $800 is a lot more of a like, oh, maybe I'll buy this kind of thing and give it a shot, as opposed to $3,500, which is outrageous. I don't know. I mean, how much? Surely these panels that they're making are getting better over time, right? Like so, like every year they got to get better and cheaper to produce. I mean, you would expect this thing to get better and cheaper to produce over time. Why is it not? Why I guess it will. I don't know. It's just such a peculiar product in the first place. Like the $3,500 price tag, the weird eyes on the front, the strange idea that it's all about work, but then no, it's about movies. I mean, I don't know, man. How often do you use yours now, Griffin?
Oh, easily. Yeah, pretty regular. Like 4 days a week, about.
Mostly for what? Yeah, I was going to ask that same question.
It's actually really good for writing. All my most productive writing days are days where I'm writing inside the Vision Pro. I just find it much more easy to focus, and I really have no clue why, but it's much better for that.
You ever see a horse with blinders on? It's kind of like that.
Well, interesting you mentioned that. I've actually been testing. This isn't what I'm doing for under review this week. I still want to spend a little more time with it, but I've been testing a very interesting product that's effectively a top strap that you can attach at like aftermarket top strap that you put onto it to the thing, like sort of like the bridge that goes around your ears, and then it makes it so much more comfortable, and it lets you use it without a light seal. So I'm actually not isolated in the way that you normally feel like with the tunnel vision. Mm-hmm. So I've had a lot of fun with that. It definitely makes it much more enjoyable to use, especially because you can scratch your face without the light seal.
Oh, that is nice.
Without it there, you can like reach out and like scratch my nose or my eyebrows.
Critical.
So you actually use it mostly for work rather than for watching movies?
Yeah, usually I spend like about an hour of time at my Mac in the morning, and then I put the headset on, and I'm like, well, I'm already wearing it. Might as well just wear it for the rest of the day, pretty much. During lunch, watching a show in the evening, doing chores. Once I'm in it, I want to wear it like all the time, but like it's the mild annoyance of like taking off my glasses and making sure it's charged and putting it on and getting ready that is the barrier to entry.
And if it didn't have the ghost eyes, that wouldn't bother you at all, right? You would never ever notice that.
I wouldn't notice it, and I don't really use it around anybody else. I live alone, so no.
And if it was had tethered to a phone in addition to the other brick, would that make a huge difference?
That would, but I don't think that's part of this most recent rumor. I don't think it mentions tethering. That was speculation, I think, the week before. But yeah, I would definitely be annoyed if the displays got even lower resolution. But I think the idea is that if they make the displays bigger from 1.4 to 2.1 inches, then they can keep the same resolution and maybe like put the displays further back so that you don't really notice as much. And that's like sort of a cheat sort of way to use cheaper displays with the same specs and still lower the price.
And would that also require less computing horsepower then?
Possibly. Probably not, though.
You know what's so weird? Is Apple was, I think, expecting the Vision Pro, or certainly hoping the Vision Pro was going to be that next big thing that really took them to that next place that they were trying to go. And I don't know where that next place is. It's probably very fancy and full of all sorts of expensive finger foods. But also for the stock, I think from a stockholder perspective, it's like, what's that next big thing, right? It's like, what is Apple going to do that's going to get them to that next big jump? And I don't think anyone was expecting it to be AI. And I don't know if AI is that next big thing for them, but it certainly is the next big thing for their stock price. We have been watching their stock price go, it's been flat for years and going nowhere slowly. And as soon as they announced Apple AI, their stock spiked through the ceiling, and it has been going bonkers ever since. Even better than NVIDIA. And by the way, I apologize. If you're wondering why your NVIDIA stock has been tanking, it's because I finally bought in. And so from here on out, it will probably either be going sideways or possibly slowly down slowly enough that you think it might recover, but eventually it actually won't. It's just going to keep going down.
I'll also say that it really took until like the iPhone 4 for the iPhone to like really sell in gigantic, like game-changing numbers, and it's only been 5 months with the Vision Pro.
Yeah. You're right. I certainly haven't written it off. I think that eventually they will get it to a point where it's going to be a really compelling product. This is definitely a V1. And just like we said when it first came out, it's like, dude, we could see the potential here. It's such a magical when it works well, it is such an unbeatable experience. They just need to make it smaller and lighter, and I think, and less expensive. And then it will be something that I think people really want to wear. Like, I would wear that dang thing all the time if it wasn't so heavy, and if it mimicked the same visual fidelity as my eyeballs. Or just got close. You know, if it just got closer, I would be okay with that too. Because the place that it's in now is not a good place, in my opinion. In some use cases, it really does dazzle and delight you. But in a lot of its use cases, you feel like you're wearing something on your head that is artificial. And for that reason, I just didn't love it. And then there's the price. But if they if they can
you notice that.
What's that?
Feel like you're wearing something on your head. It's unnatural.
Right.
You notice that you're wearing something on your head.
It's too front. Yeah, it's too front heavy. They got to balance that out. But Apple stock, man. I mean, it's just the AI stuff it was so unexpected. I can't believe that. You know, what's funny is even if they had not shifted their team from developing an Apple car and they made an Apple car and released an Apple car, I don't know if the Apple car would have had this impact on their stock price. Funny enough.
No, absolutely not.
All they did was add some features to iOS and Mac OS and all the other OSs in time, and it made their stock price go up like crazy. It's unbelievable. I just can't believe it. And it's up 15%, or no, almost 20% this year. Let's see what NVIDIA is now. Oh my goodness. I put 10 grand in an NVIDIA. I finally sold my Palantir, which I had forever and was just going nowhere slowly, which, of course, Palantir's been doing nothing but go up ever since I sold it. Of course. Let's see here. In the last month. Yeah.
Maybe you should start an app, Irfan Stock Picks. It tells people exactly what you buy. As soon as you buy it, it says, sell.
Right. That's all it does.
Sell, it says, buy.
But you know what, though? The Apple thing has paid off for me big time. Yes, my Doge might be down. never to recover. Yes, my Palantir lost me $1,500 probably when it was all was said and done. Yeah, my Nvidia will probably go to zero at some point, or my Nvidia, but my Apple stock, man, it has just been doing right by me. It's unbelievable. Yeah, Nvidia. I think Nvidia actually will go up eventually, but it's definitely down right now. It's been down like the last 2 weeks, of course, right when I buy in. This is not what I meant to talk about, and I have no idea where we're going next. Anything else to talk about with Vision Pro?
No, I think this finance talk is a good segue into our next segment, especially about OpenAI.
I know, it wasn't even...
Lewis, why don't you tell us about OpenAI's new board member?
Yeah, it's fantastic, right? Like after Apple announced its partnership with OpenAI at WWDC 24, the partnership, you see. After they announced that, the stock went up, and
according to some.
But then everybody's like, well, how's this work? Who's getting paid? That was the big question, and what we've always heard is that neither party's getting paid. Apple is giving OpenAI access to the masses, right, to the iPhone, which everybody wants, and Apple isn't paying anything. Well, this week we find out that Apple got something really nice in addition to being able to say that iPhone and Mac and everything's going to run the latest buzziest ChatGPT stuff. Apple is going to get an observer role on OpenAI's board as part of this landmark agreement, according to, you'll never guess who, Bloomberg, reporting from Mark Gurman.
Oh, good.
He's quoting people, familiar with the situation who, of course, can't talk about it. But the idea is that Phil Schiller, of all people, Phil Schiller, longtime Apple employee, Apple fellow at this point, he's going to sit on the OpenAI board as an observer, not as a full-fledged director. That's awesome. So they snuck somebody into the boardroom of OpenAI. So that's a pretty awesome thing, right? Now Apple gets insight into what these guys are doing. They could potentially, I don't know, influence decisions made by this company that has a bit of a controversial,
reputation.
They've been involved in some controversy. Some people are very skeptical about OpenAI. Some people are, if you remember, like Elon Musk after Apple Intelligence was announced, Elon Musk was like, "Oh, I'm going to ban every Apple device if they have Apple." It's like, okay, whatever. I don't know exactly. I've never been in an executive boardroom, but my understanding is that observer, he'll just like be there. He won't be actually making the decisions or anything. But think about that. You've got like an adult in the room from Apple who's looking at things and going, "Oh, this is great," and maybe we can talk them into not doing this because it's going to be bad for us. Maybe we can use these new things in this way with Apple stuff. So it sounds like an awesome deal for Apple to be able to get somebody in there. And Phil Schiller seems like a great person for it. Let's see. So this is a quote from the thing. It says, the board observer role will put Apple on par with Microsoft Corp, OpenAI's biggest backer and the main AI technology provider. The job allows someone to attend board meetings without being able to vote or exercise other director powers. Observers, however, do gain insights into how decisions are made at the company. So basically what I just said. But that's how it's. I saw some people on X of all places saying, so let's see, Microsoft dumped millions of dollars into OpenAI and they got what? Okay, well Apple doesn't give them anything, but they get to say, oh, the iPhone uses ChatGPT, which. I think this article was saying that people are clamoring for it. I'm not 100% sure that your typical iPhone user is clamoring for ChatGPT on their iPhone, but it seems like it's going to be an okay addition and implemented in a smart and privacy-forward way, which is what you'd expect from Apple. So it seems like Apple got a pretty good deal with this partnership with OpenAI.
Yeah, like my reaction to the story is, those fools at OpenAI who think they rule the world. This is why you don't cut a deal with Apple, because they'll come in and say, how about we pay you absolutely nothing. You have to front all the costs on all of this extra infrastructure as you suddenly, double your user base, as everybody with an iPhone can now access your service for free. And we have a man on the inside who's going to listen in on all of your decisions. And we're going to immediately downplay our involvement with you and say that we're also going to replace you with Google Gemini at some point in the future.
They didn't say they're going to replace. They said they might offer additional partners.
So it's kind of like giving you the ability to select your browser and use the browser that you like most. I think it's still not a bad decision for OpenAI. It's like when Bruno Mars performed at the Super Bowl for free. That exposure has an incredible amount of value. I mean, look how much Google is paying Apple just to be the default browser. Attention is...
I think Google makes money back on that. They pay Apple like $20 billion a year, supposedly, because Google makes money on, every time somebody does a Google search showing them ads. The OpenAI's business model is kind of a South Park like question mark step 2. Like how they expect to get money paid for this, really?
I don't know how they make their money currently. I mean, but being the de facto AI source for AI, I think is incredibly valuable. And I would say that they are basically like Google at this point, where they have an effective monopoly, which is the way like all the best and most profitable tech companies work, is they just become in people's mind the thing that you use to provide that specific service, like Google is or Facebook is, or name your other dominant tech platform in any in any tech space. So they may not be able to make money from it now, but I do think they are monetizing in a lot of ways. At least with Microsoft, I think that they might be. But even if they're not yet, having the attention and have people use your stuff is a great position to be in to start monetizing at some point in some way.
Think about it. This brings it to every person who doesn't know what AI is. Every time that they ask something of their phone that Siri determines is unanswerable with Siri's own amazing, fantastic skills. Oh, I said it twice in a row. Now it's talking at me. But every time that you say something like that or ask for a question like that can't be answered on the device or by whatever that other thing is, I can't ever remember the name of it, the super secure Apple cloud pipeline. What is it called? Apple
Private Cloud Compute.
Private Cloud Compute. It can't be. It pops up a thing on your phone that says, "Would it seems like you should ask ChatGPT about that. Would you like to ask ChatGPT about that?" That's basically an ad for ChatGPT every single time somebody has a question that she, who I should not speak her name, can't answer the question. How often do you think that's going to happen per day? So that just on a name recognition alone, it's astonishing, right? I mean, that's going to happen to every single person who owns an iPhone, because people do know to ask her or it those questions every day, and they know that they never get an answer. And now they're going to be thinking, hey, ChatGPT can answer the question for you. Would you like to use ChatGPT? So even your grandma who has an iPhone is going to see ChatGPT 10 times a day. ChatGPT. And it's not even some gross blinking ad on a web page. It's a thing built right into your iPhone that says, hey, I think ChatGPT can help you with that. Would you like to use it? I mean, think about what that's worth. How many people have iPhones? It's like billions. Is it billions? I mean, there's like millions or billions of active devices, right? Isn't there like 2 billion active devices? It was the latest. So what percentage of that is, M series Max or iPads or, the absolute latest best iPhone? I don't know what percentage of that it is, but it's not a small number.
Yeah, if ChatGPT or OpenAI start delivering an ad as part of the answer that it provides you,
it's not an ad. Every interaction will be akin to an ad, because it says, I can't answer that question. Would you like ChatGPT to answer it for you? Now the thing is, what happens after you say yes, ask ChatGPT? That's where it becomes crucial. Like if it answers it beautifully, they got an ad and you had a great experience, and you're gonna be like, wow, there's something to this ChatGPT. I mean, if it says we think ChatGPT can answer that, and it serves up some kind of hallucination that's obviously wrong at first glance, then their ad becomes a negative for them. But and I keep calling it an ad. It's not an ad, but it's better than an ad. It's you're being bombarded day after day after day, query after query after query with the name of this company.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think what I was trying to say is, along with whatever information is relaying to you, it includes an ad. I'm not saying for their
Or you mean like
company.
a pitch for their premium service?
No. Like, let's say, hey, ChatGPT, how is orange juice made? And it relays some information to you, and then below that, it includes like an ad for like Minute Maid or something. Like maybe it starts serving ads just like Google does. Like you are doing a request, and along with the results, it mixes in ads and shows
that would
you
immediately
things.
make me turn it off. So
there's, I mean, well, that's I completely missed the point when I'm sorry I cut you off. That would be really bizarre to me because I think that what Apple is doing is giving them a way to present this thing in a very straightforward and professional and Apple-like way. I mean, I bet you Apple wouldn't let them do that.
Like the Amazon products do that, and everybody hates them for it.
Yeah, I'm not saying they should do that. I'm just saying that there are ways that they could start to monetize providing results to people who are using the service for free, just like Google does. I would hate to see them do that. I don't like seeing ads in the operating system. I love that Apple doesn't show ads everywhere. Like one of the things I really hated was like you would pay, like back when people had cable back in the olden days, and they would show you like all these movies that you could watch, and you click on them, and they'd be like, all you need to do is subscribe to HBO to watch this. And you're like, why did you show this to me if I can't even watch it? Like those intrusive, annoying, like I'm going to trick you ads where you think that it's not an ad until you click it, and then it's trying to get some money from you. It's like, I hate that stuff too. But I just think there's going to be a lot of ways, since OpenAI is going to be giving so many people information, that they'll be able to work some kind of small ad in there in some way to keep their platform free. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm sure they're going to figure out some way to make money. Maybe they just continue charging companies to use their service, but in a cordoned off way. So your specific GPT only serves like you and your company and can't be accessed by anyone else outside of it. I have no idea, but I know they're going to, once they have the notoriety and the name recognition, they're going to be very difficult to unseat. Just like Google, just like Coke, just like McDonald's, just like any other company who started the niche that they now completely own. Maybe not officially, but unofficially. It's like, and Peter Thiel, like the famous tech investor, he's like, those are the companies that you want to invest in, like the companies who have an effective monopoly. They're very difficult to unseat. And even if other companies come along with a better service, people don't use them because they want to just use the company that they know, the one that they trust, because it's been there the longest, it started the space. And those are the companies that just continue to do well because people know them and people use them. And I think that's proven to be true in many ways for so many different companies all across the ecosystem of businesses that exist. Anyway, where are we? I think that topic has been sufficiently flogged. Oh my goodness!
Glad we were able to shine some light on that.
Me too. People were wondering. We got them the information that they needed. Let's see here. How much stuff do we have left? We have way too much stuff in here. We can't do all this stuff. I might have to make an executive decision here. Should we slash either the iPad Magic Keyboard story or the...
How long can that take? You already told people. You can't leave them hanging.
You think that they're on the edge of their seat wondering about that?
Well, I can always edit it out of the beginning. I've done that before.
No. Let's just do a flyover, Griffin. But before you do a flyover, let me do a flyover of my own for CultCloth.co. Talk about having a great Squarespace website. Guess what I'm using for the CultCloth? That's right. Powering the CultCloth is squarespace.com/CultCast. But I'm using it to, it even says powered by Squarespace. Look at that. It says it right there. I can't even hide it. It's right there front and center. And Squarespace and their servers, look, it took us a while to get the mix of antifreeze and advanced coolant correct to keep their servers online for all the orders that were coming in from CultCloth. But we finally got that dialed in, and now they're able to handle the volume. And if you haven't gotten your CultCloth and you've been thinking about it, now is a great time to do it. Why? because you can get yourself a free carry cloth with any order $20 plus at checkout. And you're like, well, isn't that the deal that you had going like for the last several weeks? Yes, it is, but it's still going. And I might revoke it at any time. You never know when I might revoke it. I have the power to do that. Hop into my Squarespace website, boom, and the extra CultCloth offer is gone. And you know what? I might do it tonight, Lewis. I just might do it tonight. So people better act fast.
Is this an idle threat?
Because then you won't get the free carry cloth and you'll be so sad that you missed the offer. Or maybe you don't care about the free cloth. You just want the best cleaning experience possible for all your gadgets and lenses and glasses and boats, and maybe you want to keep your forehead nice and shiny. There's so many reasons to use the CultCloth. And maybe you got a weepy eye, Lewis, a weepy eye. This could help you with that. There's nothing like it.
But you can't brush your hair with the CultCloth, can you?
I haven't tried. You might be able to. I doubt it would be the best hairstyle that you could probably achieve.
I can test it for you if you send me one.
Actually, you know what? I'd be happy to do that, Griffin. And it probably builds up a nice static charge that you could use to elevate that hair even higher.
Think of the possibilities.
It would literally just be like a round circle.
Have to
every hair going straight out.
Zoom out my camera.
Yeah, probably. But in all seriousness, nothing cleans better than a CultCloth. It is the premier grade cleaning experience for all your gadgets. Head on over to CultCloth.co, CultCloth.co to check it out and use code CultCast at checkout for any order $20 plus, and you'll get a extra carry cloth with your order. And of course, your support supports me and the CultCast, which I appreciate. CultCloth.co, CultCloth.co. Okay, Griffin, let's see what you can do with this story.
So let's see what's
possible.
iPad pro tip. I was amazed when the latest iteration of the iPad Magic keyboard came out that a lot of people didn't know that the Magic Keyboard has a backlight. And it's had a backlight ever since the original model in 2020 or so. A lot of people don't know it has one. It turns out it actually does. It's just that the controls are hidden. Like on the Mac, there's the, I think it's like the F6 key or something like that. It's been a long time since I've had a laptop. One of those keys lets you turn on the backlight on your computer. It's not on the iPad. You have to go searching for it. But there's a button in Control Center you can add specifically for the Magic Keyboard for iPad. If you're in iOS 17, you just go to Settings, Control Center. Then you tap the green plus button right next to keyboard brightness. And you've got a Control Center control. You can bring Control Center and tap it to toggle it on or off. Or you can tap and hold your finger on the button. And it becomes like a little slider where you can make it brighter or dimmer. If you didn't know it had one, it turns out it does. That's what that, $350 or $400 gets you. So if you didn't know it had one before, surprise you. It is an extra fun little new feature.
And we'll link to this in the show notes if you guys want to check out the whole story. That was good. That was good, Griffin. You didn't dive too deep on that one. You got to whet their appetite and then leave a little link for them if they want to dive in. That's what you did. ChatGPT couldn't have done it better. But give it 6 months and it will. All right. Well, let's see here. Now we're powering through. Okay, Lewis. There's no way to segue.
This if you want.
There's no way to segue to this story. I'm going to just give it to you to take us in a completely different direction. Hit the brakes. Hit the e-brake. We'll spin this thing around. And maybe just do a quick overview of how your Apple Watch will soon be able to tell you just before you're about to die.
Yeah, this is an interesting story that Leander kind of fished this out of a Washington Post, Wall Street Journal story, talking about how doctors are recommending people that people wear Apple Watches. They're increasingly using it as a way to monitor people's health, right? Well, one of the little details in this thing is there's this Dutch doctor who says that the Apple Watch, unlike Apple says can't do this, right? But this Dutch doctor says, hey, Apple Watch can detect a leading cause of heart attacks, and he is encouraging people to study whether or not this can be used. I just give the brief background on this, right? So this is a doctor named, I believe it's a Ruud, R-U-U-D, Koster, cardiologist from Amsterdam. He accidentally discovered that he had a potentially fatal heart blockage that caused myocardial ischemia. That's just when your heart doesn't get enough oxygen or blood. He wrote a paper about his experience and now recommends the Apple Watch be studied for its ability to alert wearers about potentially deadly heart blockage. And the weird thing about this is this guy, he had a history of family, a family history of heart disease, and he was on, I believe, drugs for cholesterol.
Yeah.
But he didn't think like, oh crap, I'm having a heart attack. He went to the gym, and afterwards he just sat down, and for some reason he decided, oh, I'm going to check my ECG, and he did it a couple of times, and he looks at it, he notices that of course he's a cardiologist, right? So he understands this stuff, and this is one reason I'm sure that Apple doesn't advertise this as a feature, right? Because you have to be like a cardiologist to look at this and say, wow, look, this is weird. This is showing that I've got a major blockage in my arteries. And so he had no chest pain, nothing like that. He just like by accident almost using his Apple Watch discovered he had this potentially deadly thing. It causes supposedly like more than 1 million deaths in United States per year.
Wow.
Right. That's according to Cleveland Clinic. So Coaster said it works, and this is from his paper. The use for detecting myocardial ischemia is not endorsed by Apple, but is documented in this case. Documented, he said. Before, during, and after the episode, he talking about the doctor, he was completely asymptomatic for chest pain, shortness of breath, dizziness, or palpitations. But the Apple Watch noticed this weird thing, and this weird like way that his heart responded after this exercise, and I don't know. It's a pretty interesting story. I love the way that the Apple Watch watches all this stuff in the background. One of the things that I think Leander was talking about, or somebody was saying, like, well, maybe if Apple can like fine tune an algorithm that could spot that kind of thing, right? I mean, that's the problem, right? Like, this guy noticed it because he's a cardiologist. So, I mean, it was kind of mind blowing. I'm used to these stories of people having atrial fibrillation spotted by Apple Watch, and that causes them to go to the doctor and get checked out. This is like and that's basically the main use case for the Apple Watch, right? The main way that we've seen it saving people's lives. But this is a pretty interesting one, and it basically it shows what it's capable of and what Apple. I mean, for whatever reason, Apple doesn't probably even have the time and money to go and get things sort of FDA approved for all these different sort of off-label uses, but it's like it's more powerful than you might know is what I'm saying.
It's more powerful than they can say.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting story.
Yeah, that's kind of
cool.
In
my opinion.
And if you're a cardiologist, you can just self-diagnose. So that's handy. All cardiologists
you
should
can
wear.
Share all that stuff with doctors,
Yeah.
and doctors can see it. And I don't know. I'm a big fan.
Tell you if you're about to
feel
keel
like
over.
I should do an ECG right now.
You are awful sweaty. You feel okay? I can get you into those CultCloths just to
The
dab.
excitement.
Just to
The
dab.
excitement of the podcast.
All right. That wasn't nearly as boring as I thought it was going to be, Lewis. Thank you. All right. The 8 weirdest unreleased Apple products. I think we're going to just drop this off in the, let me see here, in the show notes. And I think, Lewis, you just wanted to tell people about this, right? Like, this was a story that we had on Cultimac that we thought people might want to.
Griffin wrote it. Griffin wrote it. He could tell us.
All right.
Griffin, why don't you tell? So, of all the things on that list, the one that I found the most amazing was this thing called the Paladin, right?
Yeah.
So
this is
this
is an article and video that went up last weekend. I actually highly encourage people to watch the video because it has even more pictures of these weird unreleased Apple products in it. The weirdest one is in the 90s, Apple was apparently going to make an all-in-one Mac that had a built-in phone, fax machine, and scanner. And it looks exactly as 90s as a product like that sounds. It's absolutely wild. Some other favorites on that list are the Apple Jonathan, which is kind of like a bookshelf-shaped computer that you're supposed to like expand by adding like new like modules into it. There's another image in there of a prototype of the iPad from 2002 that looks like the white polycarbonate like iMac or iPod look from that era. Really cool stuff in there. Mm-hmm.
And that weird Newton with the gigantic bezels. I always say bezel. bezels.
Yeah, like a giant like book-sized Apple Newton too. Some crazy stuff in there. I encourage people to click the link in the show notes. They'll be in there to watch that video.
The iPod phone. Man, Apple really does itself a disservice not maintaining their own museum where there's all these prototypes for all this stuff. I think that people would love that. Like the Apple Museum in Cupertino, it doesn't exist because Apple seems like they've never been overtly nostalgic about their history, and then also
anti nostalgic.
Yeah, maybe even. And well, that's clearly fake. That's the iPhone with a rotary dial. But it's too bad that they don't actually feel like it would be good to do something that showcased all the work that they've done to get us to the place where we are now. You know, like if you go to I'm trying to think of a museum that does a really good job with this. Yeah, the Kennedy Space Museum in Florida. Like you go in there, first of all, top notch museum. I mean, the way they reveal the museum to you when you go through the entrance is like very emotional and makes you really appreciate how much work and effort went into like the American space program. And then you get to walk around and like see all the prototypes and like the satellites and like all the different space stuff that they use. And Apple could totally do that. I mean, they have such a long history and there's probably so many prototypes that they have gone through. And if anyone could create a cool museum experience, like it could be Apple. Johnny, love from, sure, they would charge you probably $100 million to do that project for you. But you know what? TC's got it. TC's got $100 million. I think that Johnny and I would probably love to do a project like that. And it would be something that technology and Apple enthusiasts would definitely go and see. I think just normal people would probably go see it too. And it's really a shame.
There are a lot of like great computer museums out there around the world. I'd like to go to some, someday. I haven't had the chance to go to a computer museum. But the thing is, like, even if you feel like you're really well versed in Apple history, still check out this article because this is like alt history. These are the products that you've never heard of, and they're kind of crazy.
Yeah, I agree. There's a bunch of stuff in here that I had never heard of either. I thought you're gonna be talking about like the Pippin and all sorts of other stuff. It's like, yeah, I've been there, done that. I know about the Pippin, but these are things that I have never even seen before. So that actually looks like a cool computer. That looks like it was made by Next, actually, right there. Cool. All right. Well, we'll leave a link in the show notes. Let's go ahead and wrap it up with an all new one to review. Griffin's got something new. I've got something new to me, and I was recently setting it up and tinkering with it yesterday. And I've had this thing for like maybe a year, and I literally never even took it out of the box. And finally, I was like, okay, I got to take this thing out of the box and get it set up. And as I was doing it, I was like, this isn't nearly as challenging as I thought it was going to be. It took me like 10 minutes. And once I got it going, I was like, wow, what a difference. But I digress. I'll let you go first, Griffin.
Yeah, so what I was sent these earbuds. These are called the SoundPeats Air 4 Pro. Kind of a odd name. These really answer the question of like, what if you want the advanced features of AirPods Pro, but you don't want to spend $250? So these are, I think, only $90, which even undercuts Apple's cheapest version of like regular AirPods. But they have a lot of the same features. They don't have the advanced like pop up the thing on the screen to connect or stuff like that. But I think these are really good as far as like generic Bluetooth earbuds go because they have a lot of the advanced features. Like they have the interchangeable like rubber tips on the buds themselves, which is useful for me because one of my ears is actually like one size bigger than the other ear. So they come up with multiple tips. I put the smaller one on my left one, the larger one on my right one, all set right there. They have active noise cancellation, which is the big feature. Just like the AirPods Pro, they're activated just by like clicking the bud in your ear, and then you can change it on the fly like that. The sound design, I will say, with like the sound effects that the earbuds play, leave a little bit to be desired because like the AirPods have like these fun little bloops and bleeps and stuff that they do, where like you hold the button and it's just like a voice that says pass through, ANC on, normal mode, in like that exact pitch and timbre. It's interesting. You can tell, these are the corners they had to cut. You're spending $90 for $250 worth of features. That's what you get instead. But I did a stress test. I was like, because like the ultimate goal for when I want like active noise cancellation to do is I want it to be powerful enough so that I can listen to podcasts without going deaf while I mow my lawn. And that's a tall order to ask of just like tiny little earbuds.
For sure.
And I can say I was incredibly impressed with these. Like I had them at a pretty regular volume, mowing my lawn for, 3 hours, perfectly fine. And the battery life, even with even with active noise cancellation on for that long, like that's strenuous on a tiny little battery, and it made it through like the whole mowing experience. It was honestly like pretty game changing in that regard, and I was very impressed with it. Like you put them back in the case, and like I can go a week or more without plugging it into charge. Pretty impressive battery life. I'll admit it's been a long time since I've had AirPods, so I guess I don't have much comparison there. But like, I honestly don't know much else I would get if I got AirPods Pro instead of these. Like, I guess the spatial audio and the voice isolation when you're on phone calls, but and the nicer
switching.
iPhone
Automatic switching, yeah, that's a big one.
automatic switching is the big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But most people don't like automatic switching. Like I actually wrote a how-to article earlier this week on how to turn off automatic switching because a lot of people find it kind of irritating.
Why would you find that feature irritating?
Well, a lot of ordinary people just want everything to come out of their phone. That you sit down in front of your computer and they still want the podcast to come out of their phone.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I absolutely find that annoying at times. It's like it's like the thing with which Siri is going to answer your question. If we say Siri, will that get us by? Which Siri is going to answer your question?
Probably.
Right? It's thinking so hard that it goes to like 7 different things, and it tries and it tries and it tries. Same thing with the automatic switching. Like sometimes it works beautifully. Other times it's like, no, I want to keep listening to the podcast today. Oh, geez.
That literally never happens to me. The talking to who, that definitely does, and that is really annoying, especially because you'll be talking to your phone and then your watch is listening. It's like, dude, I finally turned Siri off on my watch. I'm like, I literally never want to talk to Siri on my watch. It never works as well as I want it to. I pretty much only ever want it to work on my phone, come to think of it, and maybe my HomePods. But anyway, with the AirPods, it stays connected to the device that I'm using pretty much all the time. Maybe that's because I'm not trying to use 2 Apple devices at the same time. And they never automatically connect to my Mac. That may be a setting that you could...
Yeah, there is a setting you can switch off.
Okay, because I don't want my AirPods to ever work with my Mac. So maybe I just have that turned off. It's just between my iPad, my Apple TV, and my iPhone. And I feel like the iPad and the iPhone I'm never using at the same time. So maybe that's why I don't have issues. And then the Apple TV, you have to literally turn it on and route the sound to your AirPods if you want that to work. But I would still consider that to be, it's not automatic switching, but you still have the option to switch. You don't have to pair your headphones to like the device you want to use and pair it to this device and then pair it to this other device. So even if it's not automatic, it's assisted switching. Like it's always available to be switched to, which is what I love about the AirPods.
I will say about this device, like some Bluetooth devices are better at connecting than others. These are really good. Like, you click the connect button and then it broadcasts itself like really fast on all the other devices. Like switching it to my computer for like the couple times I tested that, it was really efficient. So coming back to these, another advantage over the AirPods is that they're black instead of white. Some people don't. Apple's apparently never going to make earbuds in any other color than white. So if you want black ones, that's something. There's no amount of money you can pay to get those on AirPods, but you get that on these. Overall, they've like copied Apple's case design where magnetically snaps closed and they're presented like that and you just pull them out. It has a little charging light on the front. I guess the charging case doesn't have wireless charging, but it's USB-C on the bottom. So
I almost never use the wireless charging on my AirPods either. So I have it. As long as it's USB-C, I feel like that's good enough for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Okay, what'd you say those things were called?
These are I have to look at the box again. SoundPeats Air 4 Pro.
Okay.
Hear your imagination, it says on the box.
My imagination has been silent this whole time. I had no idea.
It has automatic ear detection. That's good.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if you mentioned that, but that's one of the best features of
Mhm,
AirPods.
mhm.
All right. Well, let me tell you about what's been going on here at the Cult Command Center. So I bought something kind of on a whim. It was either last Black Friday or possibly even the Black Friday before. I do not even know. I should go look.
What?
I got to look this up. Hold on. I
You
got
don't
to look.
even know when you bought it.
I don't. Sometimes you buy something and you think you're going to use it right away, and then you're like, I'm going to get to it, and well, I gotta have to switch things out to make it work, and then you just kind of like leave it in the box for a long time. Sometimes you never take it out of the box. Has that ever happened to you guys? I
I
mean,
have the opposite problem where I imagine how it would change my life if I bought a product, then I'll go like 3 years before I actually pull the trigger on it. And then as soon as I order it, I'm incredibly impatient and I want it to arrive right now.
okay. Well, okay. So it was March 2023. So I had it in the box for a whole year, and
Wow.
it's been sitting there. And finally, I was like, dude, I had some time off this week to take care of some stuff. I'm like, I have got to get this thing unboxed. So you're like, dude, tell us what it is, please. You've been teasing me this whole time. My nips are irritated. Just tell me what the darn thing is. Don't act like you don't know what I mean, Griffin. Let's see here. Actually, I got to grab this other piece. Hold on.
Anticipation.
There you go. Okay. So I'll finally get into it now that I've teased you. I have the original Nintendo Switch. Here it is. I have done whatever I can do. Oh, you can kind of see my setup there to keep this thing working. I leave it pretty much plugged in the dock all the time. It's just always plugged in the dock. And so the battery life I thought would suffer. It hasn't. It still gets great battery life, but eventually the batteries died on the Joy-Con controllers. And so I replaced the batteries. I just went onto Amazon or eBay and I bought some new batteries and I replaced them, which is super easy to do. And they still work great. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. What I did was I bought the new Tears of the Kingdom OLED Switch because I am a sucker for the Zelda stuff. I bought like 2 copies of the game, the collector's edition and the regular edition. Well, the regular edition is digital, but I have like the collector's edition that I haven't even opened. And can I get this thing closer to the camera?
It's just how much of a collector you are, you know?
Dude, I am a collector. And you could see like the intricate nature of the Joy-Con controllers. They're so beautiful and like detailed and stuff. And so I bought this thing because it has the Zelda styling, and I was like, oh, it has the OLED screen, even though I don't play undocked very often. So I finally got this thing unboxed this week. I was like, holy moly, what a difference between this new Switch and the old Switch. So one of the big selling points about this new Tears of the Kingdom Switch and the OLED Switches in general is that the screen fidelity is just night and day difference. But what I didn't know is that it's also a much bigger screen, and the newer Switches are slightly faster. So the performance is better, but the screen is like significantly bigger. I'm trying to turn this thing on as I talk here so you guys can see. Let's see here. So here is, whoops, let me unlock this. So here is like the original Switch. This is the original one that came out right when they allowed pre-orders. And you can see it has like pretty big bezels. I'd say like a 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch of a bezel all the way around it. And then I'll get the OLED out and you'll see it's way more vibrant. And the colors on it just pop right off the screen. It's like, dude, it's like almost like an iPhone where you don't even feel like you're interacting with a screen because it doesn't feel like they're that far. Like, I'm trying to hold this so it's not tilted. It doesn't feel like the screen is that far below like the screen protector. And then you'll see the screen itself is actually far larger than the original Switch screen is, which I didn't even realize when I bought this. So even though this is not a new console by any stretch, it's a year old now. It's new to me because I finally opened it, and it's got like this really beautiful like gold color to it with all these Zelda graphics painted on the Joy-Con, and then you get it with like that big, beautiful OLED screen with the smaller bezel, and I am just completely in love with this new Switch. I had no idea that it was going to be this beautiful. And I know that sounds insane to say because I've owned it for a year and it's just been sitting in the box, but I kind of bought it without much thought. I was like, oh, it was on sale on Amazon. I think they were selling it for like $320 or something. And the batteries on my current Switch were dying. So I was like, oh, I should just buy a new one because the Joy-Cons are like $80. They're outrageously overpriced. But then I ended up spending $12 to swap out the batteries in my current Switch Joy-Cons. So now this one's like new as well. I don't even know what I'm going to do with this. Maybe I'll give it to my kids or something. I don't know. But it's kind of a cool artifact just from Nintendo history. I shouldn't even say that. I don't want to collect this thing. I've got almost every other Nintendo system that I purchased. I don't even play anymore.
Museum.
But if you've been using the original OLED Switch and you've been thinking about switching, or the original Switch and you've been thinking about buying like a newer version, I will say, get the OLED, man. It is such a massive difference. Like the colors on this screen are so beautiful and vibrant, and it's more responsive, and the animations are smoother, and it loads slightly faster. And then I think you can still buy this same Switch on Amazon, and you get the cooler designed Joy-Con. Just a very cool piece of hardware. And then I also got this, which I haven't even opened yet. But this is the Tears of the Kingdom Nintendo Switch official case, which you got to have a case for your Switch. And I have like a really generic, just black Nintendo Switch case. So I bought this one as well because it has like the Tears of the Kingdom design on the front of it, which, should we open this live on the air? Just go ahead and do it?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's going to open
our new unboxing podcast. A perfect art form for an audio
I call
medium.
it, because it feels really good, you know, when you unbox something. So I'm going to call the channel Unboxing Therapeutics. How about that? Unboxing Therapeutics. No lawsuit there. It's almost a shame. You know, my problem is with the Nintendo stuff is their packaging is so exquisitely beautiful, and they do such a good job integrating the product into the package that I don't even want to open it, which is how I ended up being an Amiibo collector. I wasn't even trying to be an Amiibo collector, but I couldn't get myself to open these dang things because they're so beautiful. So there it is. There's the Destructed. But here's the Tears of the Kingdom. And if you're listening to this, just go to watch.thecultcast.com, and we have all of our episodes archived there. There it is. Look at that beautiful scenescape with... Look, there he is himself. There he is, Zelda, sitting there on the edge of the cliff. What a powerful warrior he is. Look at Zelda. I kid, of course. But he's sitting there, Link's sitting there on the edge of one of those sky islands, just overlooking one of those beautiful vistas that you get in the game. And this was on sale too. So I bought both these. And oh man, it even has like a colored zipper and a special emblem, like Zelda emblem right there on the zipper. Dude, it's the details, man. This is why people love Nintendo. Although I think this thing was made by PDP, who does a great job, by the way. So, that just scratched my Nintendo Switch that I just opened. Just dropped it.
Awesome.
Oh, it's broken now. Great. No, it's fine. Yeah. So I wasn't going to promote that on the show, but then Griffin was like, going to talk about these headphones, and I was like, all right, I got something. And it's been far too long since I've talked about any kind of hardware. But that's it. That's all I got. Anything from you, Lewis, or should we wrap it up there?
I'm going to take a pass.
All right.
My gift is nothing.
All right. Well, then, maybe next
Under
time.
review, the end of the show.
Oh, man. It's got a, oh, look at that. It's got a much improved.
Kickstand.
It's got a
way.
kickstand, but like, look at that kickstand. It's way bigger than the kickstand on the normal Switch. Oh man, it's got like a hydraulic adjustable.
Yeah, the
kickstand
kickstand on the
back.
original Switch is a flimsy piece of plastic that you wouldn't trust to actually hold it up.
No, it's tiny.
The OLED stand, it's like the Microsoft Surface ones where you can put it at any angle and a much wider range of angles. It's nice.
Yeah, it's way better. I had no idea. All right, that's it. I think we should go ahead and wrap it up there. We've been streaming for 17 and a half hours. I can't believe we even went this long. But that's it. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. But you know what? The fun never stops when you're a member of the very exclusive Cult Club. I think we're having our badminton tournament this weekend. Make sure you bring your rope ties to that when you're running around. That could end up being a catastrophe for all of us. So if you're not a member and you want to come hang out in the Cult Club, support.cultcast.com, cult of 9 to 5, mathrumors.com. If you want to fork it over, I keep telling you, you're going to feel lighter. Just, you're going to feel better, like you're contributing, you're a part of the team. So really, I'm doing this for you. It's not even for us. After I pay all of my marketing people and scientists, I make $0 off it. And why do I do it? Well, it's because I'm a selfless person, Lewis. This has been the CultCast. I already said that part. I did this last week. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. I want to thank everyone for listening, for hanging out live, and we'll see you guys next time.
We unironically said before we went live, maybe this will be a short episode, and this turned out to be the longest episode we've had.
Every time I say that, I curse us. Next time when we start, I'm going to say, this is probably going to be the longest episode that's ever been released in the podcast format. And then we'll do 22 minutes and we'll just run out of things to say. And then I can finally keep my promise of this being a 30-minute podcast, which I don't remember the last time we kept that promise, but it's been a while. I think Leander Kinney was on the show. He was always ready to get off the show. Remember?
That one went by in a blink of an eye.
All right. Bye, everyone.